Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fed League Flash for Tuesday, April 8th. It's News and Notes Day, and as has been the recent tradition, I'm doing stuff on YouTube. It has a little bit of a wider reach than I have on the Flash Audio Network. If you do not know, I do have content Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on the Flash Audio Network. If you want to find out what is that, what platforms is that, it's Spreaker, it's Spotify, it's iHeartRadio. All the links for whatever platform that you like to listen to is on my Facebook page pinned up at the top. All right, so look for it there, and you can listen. Like I said, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I have content on there. Tuesday, here we are. So we got a lot to talk about, and so let's get right into it. All right. First, ice availability issues in the playoffs. Now, before I get too much into this, I want to say that contingency plans either have been made or will be made. So the league is aware of these issues and has been working on plans to deal with it. It happens in the SPHL too. I know Huntsville every year has problems with schedules and dates and stuff like that. So this isn't new. It's unfortunate, but it's not new. It's kind of like a situation when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. So that's what's going to happen. So one of the teams that has an ice availability issue is Columbus. All right, the River Dragons. They are a tenant of the Columbus Civic Center. They are not the tenant. And the Civic Center every year pulls out their ice pretty early. Usually it's at the end of April. This year, it's even earlier. They are going to be pulling out their ice on Monday, April 21st. So that means Columbus is fine with the first round. They're only hosting one game anyway. They're hosting the first game of the first round, and the next two games, if both of them are necessary, will be at either Athens or Carolina. Depends on who that seed is. So, so Columbus really only has the one date, and then their main home is not available. So if they go deeper in the playoffs, they can play in a rec rink. Arrangements have already been made. I know it's not ideal from a financial or a fan standpoint, but nonetheless, it can happen. So that's fine. Um, so there's a plan. Athens, their arena is not available for the second round. First round is fine, but the second round, the arena is already booked for another event Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they're going to have to find another home to play in. There have been rumblings that they might play in a nearby ECHL barn, maybe where the Gladiators play or the Swamp Rabbits or something like that. Details haven't been worked out yet, but it's being worked on. So, it's kind of a shame that Athens fans are either going to have to travel or rely on YouTube, but thank God for YouTube. It's been a big part of the FPHL's growth, so that's what it's there for. Baton Rouge also, depending on how deep they get in the playoffs, there could be issues with scheduling with the Raising Cane's Center as well. So, it's typically the teams in the South, but yeah, you're going to have to jump through some hoops, and it happens. Again, it happens every year in a couple arenas in the SPHL. So it's not ideal, but something will be worked out. So be ready for venue changes. So, which reminds me, I did not write this on here, and I wanted to mention it. It just popped in my head. Very important information. Has nothing to do with the playoffs. Monroe, the Moccasins have changed the game time for this upcoming Saturday's game. I guess um, I forget who it is, but a country singer star is going to be making an appearance, either singing the anthem or doing the puck drop or something. But anyway, the game time is going to be this is local for Monroe, 3 o'clock, not 7 o'clock. All right, it's been talked about ad nauseum on the fan boards. So make a note of that if you plan to watch a game on YouTube or you're planning on going to the game. Game time puck drop is 3 p.m. Central, which is 4 Eastern. All right. So that's very important. That's this coming Saturday against who is it? Against Carolina. All right. Let's talk about something a little bit more pleasant. All right. Here are just did a chart of our most likely possibilities with the playoffs coming up. Now, obviously, we've got 2 or 3 games, depending on what team you are, left to play, and that's going to go a long way in determining seeding and who has home ice advantage and stuff like that. Now, the Empire Division is pretty close to set. All right, Binghamton's locked up in that number 1 seed. Danbury locked in number 2. Motor City locked in the number 5. They will travel to the number 4 team, which will most likely be Watertown, because right now to clinch third place, Port Huron needs 1 point, just one. So an overtime loss to Motor City this weekend, they're locked in the third, and then they would travel, or they would be the lower seed against Danbury. Watertown would have to win out, and Port Huron would have to be completely shut down by Motor City this weekend. Not likely. Not likely that happens. So the chances are, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see Watertown as hosting that play-in game, which will be early or midweek next week. All right, and then they would travel. Well, they would host game 1. Whoever wins this game hosts game 1 against Binghamton, and then they would travel to Binghamton for game 2 and 3 if necessary. Like I said, it looks like this is most likely set. 1 point. Yeah. The Continental is a lot more wide open. Now we know that the play-in game is definitely going to be between the Bobcats and the Zydeco. That much is certain. What we don't know is who is number 4, who is number 5. All right, it all depends on this upcoming weekend. Baton Rouge has 3 games, 1 against Monroe and 2 against Mississippi. On paper, mind you how I say that, on paper, they should win those 2 games in Mississippi without a problem. Monroe, who knows? Baton Rouge and Monroe have played each other very tough and very close this year, so that game could go either way. Blue Ridge has 2 games against the Dashers, which, on paper, they should be able to take care of business and win those 2 games. In the event that both teams ended up tied in points, Baton Rouge actually has a tiebreaker with wins. So that gives them an advantage. But we're going to have to wait and see how the games play out. Now, we also have Athens just 1 point behind Carolina right now. Looking ahead to this weekend, Carolina travels to Monroe to take on the Moccasins, 2 games in Monroe. Athens is playing 2 games against Columbus. On paper, I'm going to say that again. Excuse me. Carolina's matchup is easier. Not dissing Mocs fans. Please understand, I'm saying on paper. The games are played on the ice, not on paper. So, Moccasins have a chance to assert themselves and pull off an upset. Athens and Columbus, they've played each other tough all year. Now, Athens has won the last, I believe, 4 head to head meetings, but the teams are pretty evenly matched. So I would think that the advantage most likely goes to Carolina being the number 1 seed. But again, on paper. So that is the situation. Um, if Carolina wins on Friday and Athens loses, it's done. But that's the simplest of situations here that could happen. So anyway, this is kind of a look at what you're most likely going to see. This is my guess, my educated guess as far as who's going to be in what seed. I circled, the teams that are definitely locked into their position, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 teams. So the other 6, they've got to play things out. All right, so that's a look at our playoff scenarios. All right, I want to talk about Dashers right now. And I'm going to be very frank and direct, but don't panic. Hear me out. Okay, hear the whole thing. Don't panic when I say the first part of what I'm going to say about the Dashers. All right, the Dashers, as you know, have been pretty much ownerless for this year. Barry Soskin, the owner, he's been MIA since December. All right, so um, in essence, the team hasn't had an owner. Now, Don Lewis has come in and acted as a GM and making personnel decisions and things like that. Paul Jean, I still don't get this part, but Paul Jean also has had a hand in it representing the league. The league is kind of half running it. But right now, I'm just saying right now, at this moment, the team doesn't have an owner. They need an owner. If they do not find an owner, they're not coming back next year. Now, hear me out. This is the part that I'm saying, hear me out. Hear the whole thing. All right. I am not saying the Dashers are one and done. It could happen, but uh, the good news is there has been recent interest by a couple of different parties in taking ownership with the group. I cannot mention names. All right. I do know one name. I think I know who the second person is. The third person that was looking a couple weeks ago, I don't know who that is, but there was a person there a couple weeks ago and decided not to invest in the team, but took a hard look at the Dashers. All right. So if the Dashers can find a new owner, really, I'd have to say the deadline's got to be April 30th. But if that can happen, if an owner, a new prospective owner says, yeah, I like what's going on here, I'm all in, then the Dashers would return for next season. So the next 4 weeks are going to be key for the Dashers organization. I think that they had a wonderful weekend this last weekend, not only on the ice, they played well, uh, got 3 points, but also the attendance was good. There was a lot of stuff going on with specialty jerseys and things like that. There were some good things happening this weekend at the David S. Palmer Arena. So I think the chances of them finding a new owner is pretty good. Um, like I said, I am familiar with the one party that has expressed interest, but I can't mention a name. I just can't. All right. The other party, like I said, I think I know who it is, but I haven't received confirmation. Yes, this is who it is. So anyway, there are people looking at the Dashers. And again, you've got to kind of make a decision by April 30th because the schedule has to be made up. You have to plan ahead for next season. I really think April 30th is going to be kind of the deadline for anything with new teams coming in, Dasher situation, um, and other situations as well, which we'll touch on in a bit. Okay, so I wanted to mention that. Now, does the Dashers, yay or nay, coming back next year, does that impact the ambitions and the probability of the Indiana Sentinels joining next year? Not really sure. We know we need to have a team somewhat close to Topeka for travel reasons and expenses. You need someone there. Now there could be both Indiana and the Dashers. Who knows? But um, yeah, one at least one of those teams is needed as a bridge because the next closest teams to Topeka are Monroe and Motor City, and like that's 11 hours each way. So one of those two, at the very least, meaning the Dashers or the Sentinels, is needed. Um, so if the Dashers find an owner, does that hinder things from happening with Indiana, or maybe does it help? That would be a good close rival. Geographically, you're only about 2 hours apart, and that would be a really good rivalry. So who knows? So that's one of those things that we don't know yet. We can speculate till we're blue in the face, but that's all we can do at this point. All right. Now, South Carolina. We talked about Florence, South Carolina. It looked like that was a done deal. And then some signals came out that's like, well, let's pump the brakes a little bit on this. Let's take a harder look. And I think this is a good thing. I really do. I still think that the chances are more than likely that Florence, South Carolina will happen. But there was obviously a little bit of pause taken when the arena football team that was supposed to play in Florence, um, things did not, things did not go well there. And the deal ended up getting canceled. The team is now homeless. Well, the whole league that team was in is in a mess right now, quite honestly. But that was going to be another tenant for the Florence Center. Now, did that failure by the arena football team potentially hurt the prospective ownership moving in from the Fed in the Florence? It's hard to say. There's a lot of surveys that are going out in the Florence area. They're really gauging hard the response by the community. How many tickets do we think we can sell? How likely is it that the barn is going to be filled to a certain capacity or a certain percentage of capacity? How are we going to do with sales, corporate sales? Things like that are being looked at. And I think that's good. I think that, if this stuff is going to happen, it needs to happen now, not down the road. So it's frustrating not having an answer right now. But again, you got to trust the process with this. There's a lot that goes into bringing a minor league hockey team into whatever city. A lot of work goes into it. So the fact that there's a little bit of a hesitancy is not necessarily bad. All right, so I just wanted to address that. All right, with expansion next year, we could end up with a surprise. There could be something that just flies out of left field at us and is like, whoa, where did this come from? Remember Monroe last year? There wasn't much talk about Monroe having a team at all until early March. And then, bam, they get announced before the Dashers were announced. Everybody thought the Dashers are a done deal. Yeah, the Dashers are coming back, blah, 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 blah. And, that whole process got dragged on and dragged on. And Monroe ended up getting announced earlier than expected. And most of us were taken by surprise by it. And, well, look how it's worked out. I think it's worked out pretty darn well. So, we could have surprises. I think we will most likely see a league of anywhere from 14 to 16 teams next year. Um, the slight possibility of more, but I think the league learned its lesson from this year with expanding too fast into certain markets that maybe they didn't vet things carefully enough. So, again, hesitancy is not necessarily bad. Uh, let's be careful about this. Let's do it right. All right. Dispelling some rumors. For people who have heard that the Rockers are not coming back, don't listen to those rumors. The Rockers are coming back next year. Ken Andrews is the owner. He and Nick Field have a plan for the team for next year. They're already working on things like corporate sponsorships, scouting, um, getting ready to bring players in. They're doing that now. So don't worry. Anybody who says Motor City is not coming back, sorry, that's false. Motor City is coming back. Mississippi is officially in and coming back for next year. The lease agreement was signed today, and it's all official. Mississippi definitely coming back next year. Um, the Dashers, well, we talked about them. Still up in the air, undetermined. I think things look good now, but we have to wait and see. HC Venom, we don't know. There are infinite possibilities at this point. There's a possibility they stay. There's a possibility of they get relocated. There's a possibility that ownership changes. There's so many different possibilities at this point. So we can't say the Venom are coming back or the Venom aren't coming back. We don't know. All right. And that's probably going to be one of the last things we're going to find out this year. It's probably going to go right down to the wire, right down to late April, early May before we have an announcement on the status of the Venom, whichever way it goes. All right. Finally, I want to. This is the last thing today. I know I'm going a little long, but it's all important stuff. A lot of stuff happening. Um, all right. So I wanted to clarify things because a lot of people have been asking me. Okay. Obviously, there's going to be an expansion draft this summer because Topeka. Um, so obviously, we're going to have to go through the process again where teams are protecting players, choosing probably 12 players. Which 12 are they going to protect? Who goes unprotected? Who could get drafted? Now, I want to specify the only teams that have to do this are the teams that are in the playoffs. These guys. All right. Those teams need to make decisions as far as who to protect. Mississippi, Monroe, Venom, and the Dashers do not need to worry about creating a protected list. Automatically, any non playoff team, the entire roster is protected and the rights are held by those teams unless they work something out with the individual players. We're going to release you or we're going to trade you or whatever. So again, especially Monroe. I know a lot of Monroe fans have been asking. It's like, well, who are we going to lose? Hypothetically, nobody. So Mississippi, you guys are good. You don't have to worry about going through all that. So, and I don't know if there's going to be extended draft picks given to the non-playoff teams like they were this last summer. It may happen. I don't know. But those details will be worked out down the line. But I did want to clarify that with protected lists. Again, only 10 teams need to do that, and the other 4, no problem. All right, so that is today's video. I appreciate you tuning in. I will be on the Flash Audio Network tomorrow doing power rankings, the last power rankings of the year. Thursday, we'll be back with a game preview, and also uh, we'll be looking at other news bits that might come up, because I'm sure stuff will come up. And we're on the edge of what I call silly season, meaning all these expansion possibilities and rumors and all that kind of stuff. Um, we're right on the doorstep of that right now. So there's going to be a lot of interesting things to sort out, see if there's any fact there, stuff to report to you guys. So there you go. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I do appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribing, liking, all that good stuff. I'm Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash. You all have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you very soon.